On the 16th of July, which would have been last Thursday, last Thursday, 2026, just off the coast of Bangladesh, China, Myanmar, the Buddhist region there, Myanmar. If you're familiar with that region there, in the Asian Peninsula, there was a massive river calamity, disaster, where I think one boat, passenger boat, sunk Thursday of last week, carrying men, women, children, cattle, hardware goods off the coast of Bangladesh, in the region there, not far from China, and in that area. Thursday, 500 people were on the boat. Almost 300 or more missing since last Thursday. The boat was in the ocean, traveling from one point in Burma, Myanmar, in Burma there, from one point taking passengers to another point. And because of the rough seas, because of the ocean, the winds, the tide, the boat capsized and sunk. And in that region, it's the bottomless pit, you can call it. There is no end in sight when it comes to reaching the bottom of the surface. 500 people were aboard that boat Thursday. They have yet to recover hundreds of bodies, yet to recover, lost at sea. This is a boat that has traversed that route for years. For years. And that region, they have the best technology, the best kind of boating service to transport people. The unpredictability of the seas caused that boat to sink against the tide, one of those days when it could not have endured the ocean, and it toppled, sunk. 500 souls. Some of those people could have migrated to Guyana at some point, could have started families in Guyana, could have had relatives in Guyana, and their family in Guyana heard that their relatives in Myanmar, that side in Asia, Myanmar, had sunk in a boat, drowned. For 2026, from the beginning of 2026 to now, they've had countless sinking of ships, sinking of boats. Thousands of people lost their lives at sea. No fault of their own, no fault of the boat, no fault of the captains. Just nature, man and machine against nature. Just last month, earthquake, Venezuela. Thousands die. Thousands. They didn't drown at sea. They were crushed. Crushed. They see stones falling on their heads, buildings collapsing on them. Tens of thousands crushed, suffered in agony. To this day, there are many that are yet to be unearthed in Venezuela, covered with debris. We have in the Middle East bombs dropping every day. Millions suffered. That's man-made. We had the COVID pandemic that we attribute, not we, not I, but the system attributed to natural disaster. The virus, natural, they say. Tens of millions died, suffered and died as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic globally. Some people blame their government, some people blame scientists, some people blame whoever. The point is, every day, month, year, humanity is stricken by some disaster of another. Welcome to Uncensored Guyana, the Uncensored Guyana show. I am Dr. El Prasad. I was late for the studio, so I thought, let me keep what I was wearing on to come to you. And this is what I was wearing. So, it will be natural for me to be socially correct by extending my support, sympathy, condolences to the friends and relatives of those who are yet to be accounted for, that are presumed dead in the Guyana tragedy that happened on sea just a few days ago. The NV Barima, the 87-year-old steamer. I've seen a lot of stuff floating around social media. I've listened to the official narrative. I've listened to the government's press conference, chaired by the Prime Minister and hosted by the Minister of Public Works, Juan Edgel. And I've also listened to what's coming out of the opposite, the pundits, the accuser of the government, those who wait for these things to happen and who themselves can very well influence these things to happen. So they have something to propagandize against the government. I observed what they had to say. And I thought, let me skip Saturday and Sunday, not to react emotionally, not to what has happened, but to what followed, the comments, the propaganda that followed the incident. I did not want to react to that. So I'm calm today. And in my calm state of being, I shall give my take on what has happened. What has alleged to have happened, what is the official narrative, and not what is spewed from the lips of so-called survivors. I'm not here to echo their sentiments. I want to establish something here to all of you. In a time like this, like in the times of past, when something bad happened, people's first reaction is emotional. They want somebody to blame. They want to point a finger at somebody. And since this is a governmental structure, it is obvious from the past to now, the first group of people that not necessarily the victims, but the public at large tend to point a finger at is the government. It's the government. Because we have been programmed, not we, not I, I'm smarter than that. But those people, the average poor, illiterate, low IQ individuals, have been programmed emotionally to react to every situation that may attract a national perspective emotionally, with no logics, pure emotion. And since the emotions are often immature, it's only one way it usually trends. Hold the government responsible. Don't trust the government. Don't believe the government, but believe the very people whose credibility are far from the worst criminal who's already been convicted. But they lean towards those individuals and their credibility. And in this regard, I speak of the key instigator, Azruddin Mohammed, the key instigator, who always rushed and happens, because of the size of his platform, to be the first to have his propaganda circulated, but not the first to access the information or the event. Just the first that may popularize a particular incident. I want to engage For those of you who have intelligence, and those of you who understand what it is to have to engage your common sense, it means you think on an everyday basis, engage those faculties, believe what you see, what you hear, what you can touch, what you can taste. Believe that. Don't allow somebody to taste for you and tell you what the taste is, or to see for you and describe for you what they see, hear for you and interpret to you what they heard. No, do it yourself. You have your mental faculties, all five of your senses. Engage it. The government of Guyana has ministries, and I have often attributed to that, to do their PR work for them. That's not my job. This is the Uncensored Guyana show. I give my perspective to my viewers. I'm not here to represent a government or the arm of the government that deals with propaganda or PR. That's not my point. My job. So I'm giving you my opinion. That NV Barima, now it is publicly known that that boat is 87 years old. 87. Recently, the United States of America retired a presidential plane that transports the president, after it would have served a few decades. I think over what, 30 years, 40 years? Do the research, but it's not 50 years. A plane. They retired the plane. You can go around to many places. They retire buses, trucks, engines, they upgrade, they retire, they upgrade. After they would have served a certain time. There's a lifetime for everything that's made by man. And public transportation, be it by sea or road or air, must also have a lifespan. After so many years, after these years, you don't service it. You retire it. You get a new one. Because what was built for a climate 80 years ago, the climate has changed tremendously from then to now. Currents have changed. The weather pattern has changed. The sea becomes warmer. Seas becomes rougher. The wind is stronger. Tremors everywhere. So those who are monitoring the changes in the Earth's functioning must also make recommendations when necessary. You change building codes, you change air codes, you change all these things to come to be compatible with what's happening. Simple things like a software for a telephone needs constant upgrading, updating, modification. It's common sense logic. People are not the same as they were 40 years ago. 2026, people are heavier, less flexible, more sluggish, more obesity. So while you may have 100 persons walking around or making up for 1,000 pounds, 1,000 kilo, just a matter of figure, 100 person, 1,000 kilo, 20 years ago, the same amount of people today, 100 persons, might account for 3,000 kilos. Because people are less fit, more obese, more sluggish, more careless, less alert than they were then. So everything has to be adjusted as time goes on. For the same reason, when you take a passport, it says for 10 years. After 10 years, you have to go get another picture because you yourself would have changed, evolved in your features. There's a natural order of things. "87 years. We have had several governments for the past 30 years. When that boat was 57 years, as much as 60 years old, 60 years old, that boat would have recovered 1,000 times the cost for building it in the first place. It would have made many times over the revenue that boat would have generated for 50 years of service. You could have bought 100 boats with that money. After 60 years, it's time to say bye-bye. You served your country well. Retire. To work the boat for 27 years more, it's slavery. It is slavery. It's a machine. That's why. You're dealing with salt water, wear and tear, everything shifting around as the waves. You have to navigate the waves. The boat is swaying and twisting and turning, and it throws off a balance, the alignment, just like a vehicle. We as human beings usually take a lot for granted. Machines aren't people, but they are designed for specific purposes and specific periods. No vessel has a 100 years warranty. Look at the Titanic. Consider the Titanic. How much years of service did the Titanic had before it sunk? 1 year? It was the first voyage. First. They underestimated the seas as against machine. Nature don't compromise. You don't bargain with nature. You test nature. You see how much you can resist against nature. You build to suit nature, not against it. You go with the flow. All of this laying of blame it is not the president of Guyana now that is the captain of that ship, that boat. It is not the minister of public works that is the engineer of that boat. Nobody from the cabinet of the president operates that boat, has any idea of any of the boats. They have no knowledge of the engineering of that boat. That boat is older than all of them. They weren't born yet when that boat was commissioned. They have no knowledge of that boat. The people who profess to have knowledge of that boat, they had to go to school and study engineering, study boat building. They had to study all of that at a university level, which applies on a broad scale of in the marine industry, not specifically NV Berima, not specifically that boat, boats in general. The only people who would have intimate knowledge of that boat are the people who would have worked on that boat for the past 25 years. They would have intimate personal knowledge of that boat than anybody else. If they had observed this boat was incapable of continued service, even after the boat was docked for repairs in 2024, the engineers, the welders, whoever had applied that repair could have said, listen, even if it gets me fired, this boat is finished. It is not fit for service anymore. Because patching here and patching there is not a total rehabilitation of the boat. The boat needs a complete rehabilitation. New structures everywhere. And before you have to go through that, you fix this, you push this out of alignment. You weld this piece here, you put that out of alignment. It adds more weight to the boat naturally. Because you're adding on welding, you're adding on material, adding on material. So it increases the weight of the boat without passengers. That would have been the time those who would have been experienced servicing this boat for the past 80 years, from generations come, generations go, they would have a log there. You check the log, you check the information, you check the diagnosis, you check all the structural damages. Hey, this boat has been repaired for this particular problem for the past 30 years, the past 40 years. We can't be fixing the same thing over and over and over. This thing is a disaster waiting to happen. Decommission the boat. Forget about it. The compromise is all the people who were involved in the operations of this particular boat worked with the government. PNC government, Ramatar government, Jagdeo government, Ali government. Their mentality is, this is not my problem. I am working for a salary. If this boat is decommissioned, I am out of a job. There is no other boat to replace it yet. They may have to rent private boats. And by renting private boats, I can't make a raise. I can't get my hustle on. So I have to overlook a lot of stuff and say, no, it's okay. The boat can, because my income needs to keep coming at the expense of a possibility of a tragedy like what happened on Friday. Human greed. The governments, past and present, depend on their agencies. They put people in place to have a chain of command. This recommend that recommend that recommends that, then it goes to the whoever it has to go to, and they make a decision. The Minister of Public Works, I don't know of his academic background, what field he studied, if in fact he was involved in civil engineering or mechanical engineering or shipbuilding, I don't know. But what I know about Edgel, he's a bishop. Bible study, Bible school. He's a Bible man who turned a politician. He's not a boat builder. He never captained a boat. He never driven a speedboat. He is unqualified in marine activities. But he's a politician, a manager for the Ministry of Public Works, of which that department falls under the Ministry of Public Works. Asking the bishop, asking Minister One Edgel questions about the boat is stupid. It is stupid. The people who will know about the boat are the persons who work close to the captain, the engineers on the boat. They know about that particular boat. You can't ask them about another boat that travels from Parika to Essequibo. They would know nothing. So if the people, the captain who would have captained that same boat, I don't know how long, if it's 15 years, 20 years, that particular captain captained that boat, that's the man who knows everything about that boat. He would have traversed that same route. The same route he would have traversed. High seas, low seas, rainy season, nighttime, drought, low tide, high tide, for decades. Same captain. Never once an incident. Whether the captain was drunk or high on some shit, what makes you think that in the decades that captain captained the boat, in the decades, like I said, I have no information as to how long that particular captain would have captained that boat. I don't know. I don't presume it's 5 years. It has to be longer than 10 years. If so be the case, isn't it illogical to think that the man would have had a sip of alcohol every shift for 10, 15, 20 years if he has worked that boat so long? What makes Friday exclusive if it was discovered he had a bit of alcohol in his breath? What make that an exception? When in the 15 or 20 years, every instant he may have had a sip, but nothing happened. Safely. High seas, low seas, rough seas, nothing happened. For all the captains who would have captained that boat for 87 years, nothing happened. They all may have had a cigarette, some wine to keep them alert. Nothing happened. If it is alleged that the boat was overloaded against what the minister said, but let's speculate. Let us speculate for the want of propaganda. It was overloaded. Is it the first time the boat was overloaded? I have traveled as a kid from Vredenhoek to the other side with the steamer there, going across, even as an adult, a few times. And it was jam-packed. Jam-packed. They had to squeeze vehicles on the boat. Never capsized. Waves were rough and waters were splashed in the boat. You can stand there at the corridor and just clear the water as the boat goes. You can catch the water in your hand. I did it many times. The captain has to navigate and turn, and same with the boat from Parika to Bartica. A longer route, rough seas. overloaded, especially during the holidays. Attributing the fact of overloading for this particular boat only to anchor on something that may hook the people's emotions. Oh, the boat was overloaded. It's corruption. They know they shouldn't go above a certain max. They're hiding something. It's corruption. They caused it. It's the government fault. It's the PPP corrupt administration and they corrupt people. And it's their fault. Compensate the people. Compensate the people. Ali must go. Ali must go. That's where you want this to go? You want to establish the boat was overloaded so you can build on that? Had it not been overloaded, it wouldn't have sunk. I am invoking the common sense of those who have common sense. And I'm saying to you, I saw footages circulating. Unfortunately, the footage that circulated are from people who have always been disgruntled with the Ali government. They push propaganda of sacrifices with the Adriana case, the soldiers, the Mahdia fire, propaganda, PPP sacrifice, Indian sacrifice, PPP sacrifice, Indian sacrifice. It's the same talking point. The last time the couple that lost their lives, the pregnant woman, what did I tell you? Same thing they were pushing, sacrifice, factor. They are obsessed. They want something to be true. They are begging for something, some of their propagandizing to be true as it relates to sacrifice. They want it to be true. So they have something to go on. Common sense individuals, I say this to you. It is a disaster. A fire is a disaster. An accident is a disaster. When a man murdered his wife is a disaster. When criminals break into people's homes, kill them, steal their stuff is a disaster. Everything that involves the taking of lives is a disaster. NV Barima is an 87-year-old boat. 87-year-old boat. The Irfan Ali government has commissioned, as you have seen, we all have seen, many passenger boats based on recommendation as to which requires immediate recycling. Not docking and welding and fabricating and no, getting rid of it. Those boats that had required total renovation, as in a new one, they were addressed. Recently, thanks to Roshan Khan and the ordinary people, they had commissioned one that they went use for the independence observation at Fort Island. That was a recent boat they had commissioned. Now that boat will serve the people for maybe 50 years from now. 50 years because it is built for modern transportation to handle the climate now. The technology the boat was built for, the boats the president had commissioned since he is in office, those boats were engineered for this time. Not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. Those boats were built to project the future in anticipation of the changing times, currents, waves, climates for the next 50 years. If we, of those of us who are around till then, maybe before then, boats will be changed. Maybe then you wouldn't need boats. They'll have enough roads to connect all the counties, connect all the regions. And even if it was by bus, after a while, the buses would have to be parked because the wear and tear is not viable to fix anymore. Get a new one. This boat should have been replaced since in Granger time, since 2015, 2020, should have been replaced. But Granger commissioned no boats. All he commissioned was a few buses. Almost everybody has vehicles in Guyana, but yet he invested in buses to transport people. And the buses can't cover certain distances. Georgetown to Perico, that's it. Georgetown to Linden, that's it. Georgetown to New Amsterdam, that's it. No boats, no marine activity, no steamer, no passenger boats, no helicopters, no plane. Granger government did none of that. Absolutely nothing. What he inherited as a public transportation facility is what he got from Ramatar. He did not upgrade anything, replace anything, add anything new. He didn't. What they did with the government funds or state funds, they pocketed that. It wasn't spent on trying to alleviate the stress of the Guyanese people. Ali, Irfan Ali, from the beginning, targeted every sector, invested massively in public transportation. First, by making sure that the roads were proper. Build the roads, expanded the roads, get proper infrastructure, then invest in motor vehicle, in transportation to drive on the roads. He fixed the foundation first, while at the same time ordered facilities for the GDF, for the army, for the police, for the public sector, steamers, marine vessels. Irfan Ali, for heaven's sake, man, how much must the man do at one time? He has to prioritize what is recommended to him. He don't know shit about anything. This is why he has ministers, and the ministers have their ministries, and the ministries have departments. The department has their heads. Their heads have their engineer, their specialists, their scientists to come together, recommend to the minister take it to the cabinet. That's how it works. I need to establish here that unfortunate tragedy with the boat sinking, the only thing in my common sense that is responsible for that is the machine telling its operators, I had enough. I can't go anymore. I can't fight nature anymore. I am done. And it collapsed. It just collapsed. It's not the engine, not the captain. It's just the boat. Can't go anymore. 87 years is enough. The boat was screaming out for years, saying, hey man, you're pushing it. You're pushing it. I am tired. I fought the waves. I fought the currents for generations. I just can't go anymore. Don't dock me and service and fix. It's enough. You fix this piece, but you think that part is okay because it has some paint on it. Every patch you make, you add weight on the boat. Unfortunately, that was the boat saying, I'm sorry, I had enough. Nobody listened. Not Granger government and not the engineers from 2020. They had to be the one to recommend to their superiors, listen, we have worked in this boat for the past 20, 30, 40 years. All of these patches we are patching, we have done this before. It's weakening the structure. We can't fix this anymore. It's over. What is your prognosis? There is none. Now is the time to dock it, park it. Don't patch it and put it back on the sea, because the seas are rougher now. It's rougher, stronger waves than before. This can't handle it. Even Mike Tyson would say, hey, no, keep the money. My health is important. No amount of steroid can make me stand up against a 25-year-old. I'm done. Put me in a museum. You did your job, you served your country. Now you're there in the history books. Barima, NB Barima, a historical monument, served Guyanese safely for 87 years. It should have been retired years ago. The people who would have been held responsible for that were the engineers who were fixing the boat. The structural engineers who were fixing the boat. They must know. They had to have been honest and say, hey, this can't go on. This boat is done. It's finished. And if they weren't seeing that, they are incapable of being engineers. Even a building standing for 50 years against all the winds and the tremors and the winds and the storm and the shaking. After 40 years, you get an engineer to inspect the building for cracks. See how much the building is off of its alignment. If that engineer comes and say, yeah, they're there, but we can patch it. We can fix it. Are you sure? Yes. And then Hurricane Azrudine comes and the whole building collapses. You're going to blame the owner or the engineer? The engineer, not the owner. Barima, unfortunately, like I said, we cannot undo the tragedy. We can't undo that. It's a consequence to having people who are unprofessional in their jobs. Those engineers who are there in that department, transport and harbor department, deals with marine and ships and steamers. Those engineers were not handpicked by Irfan Ali or One Edgel. Those engineers would have been there consecutive governments. They are career public servants. A lot of them are working there for decades. They know all these boats. They were the one who need to treat every steamer or ship as a personal possession. Say, hey, if this was my boat, I would not put it back into the public transport sector because this is a disaster. But unfortunately, people treat government sector as that. They don't care. It's the government. Let the government deal with it. But they're forgetting that the government is human beings. The government is people, not robots or animals. And most of the people in the Transport and Harbors Department are black people. Most of the people who are working in these industries are blacks, Afro-Guyanese. Why are we blaming the government for this? I don't care about what Ashwini Mohammed says. He's an asshole. His opinion doesn't matter. And nobody will be distracted from July 29, from next week. Your opinion, Ashwini Mohammed, isn't important. You can't politicize this. None of you can. No APNU, you are the worst. Sherrod and your team, you people should just shut the fuck up. You left all the disasters, all the broken systems for Ali. Ali had to take over a damaged country where every sector was fucked up by the PNC. In his first term, he tried to fix and replace as much as he can. This is not an Ali administration misfortune. This boat is not a PPP boat. They don't work for Irfan Ali. They don't work for the PPP. They work for the public sector. They're public sector employees. Regardless of governments, they still have a job. They just have to be efficient, proficient at their job, and honest. But in the public sector, just like you have people dying in hospital care, and they want to blame the government for hospitals' deaths or doctors' malpractice. They want to blame the government for the malpractice of judges and prosecutors. They want to blame the government for incidents with teachers. They're all in the public system. Regardless of who is the president, these people work for the public system. But when these people screw up, when their departments fuck up, it's the government, it's the president. And yes, if this had happened on the Granger, maybe the PPP, maybe Irfan Ali himself would have blamed Granger for this. Because that's what politicians do in the opposition. They blame the government in power for these disasters that may have been man-made on the people that has no connection to government or politicians. But for the common sense individuals, you must understand, the people who work this boat know the capacity of this boat. They know it. So whether they are being bribed to turn a blind eye and allow a few extra to go on the boat, that's not the Transport and Harbor. Bribery happens everywhere. Look at the minibuses. How many times minibuses are having terrible accidents where everybody dies? What is usually said? It was overloaded. They were speeding. It was twice the amount of people that should be in the bus were in the bus. So the bus had no control. The man was speeding. What do they usually do? Blame the Home Affairs Minister. Corruption. No stricter traffic laws. No oversight. The traffic cops are corrupted. Everything. You want to blame the government. Sadly, people are gullible. Easily programmed. Emotions wild, running free. That is the masses of the poor people. They want something to blame for their own demise. It's unfortunate that it was established that half of the amount of people that were rescued, almost 30 persons, were not in the manifesto. They were not listed. What does that tell you? If you are alleging that the boat was overloaded, they were a part of the overload addition to the boat. Because based on the manifest, the 116 persons who can be accounted for on the manifest, with the 17 service members of the boat, 133, based on the manifest. That is not overload. That is far from overload. Far. The boat capacity is 300. That is less than half. Based on the manifest. If you had 50 people extra, how is that the minister's fault, the manager's fault, the captain's fault? How is that their fault? There is an official procedure, official website, official means of buying ticket. Have you ever heard of an airline overloaded? A plane? Because when you enter a plane, you have to provide a ticket. And the capacity of the plane says 200 people. 1,000 can be there, 200 people. Nobody can go and bribe the air host and say, hey man, I'm a bit late. Can you squeeze me in here? No. 200 is 200. A boat working with the government, not a private sector. If it's a private sector, they'll have proper security, proper scanning to check everyone. But it's a public system. It's the government. It's a public sector. Those employees are people that people are meeting every day. They're drinking together. They're chit-chatting together. They show up, pass some money, and they just pass them in. So the person who is checking the log for people, at the end of the day, he may have had 100,000 every day in his pocket from the people who just pay on the side without buying a ticket. They pay half the ticket price to the person who is checking it. So he can allow 50 people extra to go on. Who's monitoring? So the captain now will have to test from the engine, the power of the engine. If this engine usually operates at this ampage, and they realize it is working overtime and it's not the seas, it's the cargo, then it means that, hey, we are heavier than usual. But should the captain come down and inspect everybody, check the list, verify everything? It's not a train. You have train conductors to come and check, hey, let me see your ticket, let me see. No. So half of the people saved were not on the list. They hitched a ride on the boat. They paid bribe to get on the boat. How the fuck is that the minister's fault? People must take responsibility for their contribution to their own demise. You drink, you get drunk, you drive your car, you cause an accident, you kill people, and you want to blame the traffic police for that? You drank. You took the car. You went and drive. You caused the accident. How is that somebody else's fault? People died on a boat because of other people's screwing up. The boat could only have taken so much. If they had stuck to the 116 It could have navigated the waves. In the weakened state of the boat, could have. But if you have 100 people extra that is not on the list, let us attribute the blame of the further weakening of the boat structure to the 100 other human beings, plus their baggages and their cargo, to that. Not the state, not the ministry, not the president. Other Guyanese who contributed to their own demise by not following the rules. Everybody want to live carefree, live how they want, no accountability, nobody must stop them, nobody must correct them, they just want to do what they want to do. And when tragedy struck, you want to lay the blame on somebody else? It don't work like that. So everybody who can be proven, everyone who is rescued, and it is proven that they have not went through the normal channel, there's a consequence to that. They should face the consequences. No forgiveness in that. They broke the law. They should be dealt with according to the law. No forgiveness in this. They helped to contribute to the death of other people because they cheated the system. If it was established that they can't take more people, 116, that was the max because of the structural problem with the boat. And the engineers and all those specialists say, hey, because of the boat's condition, it cannot exceed this amount of human cargo. Luggage, vehicles, it must not exceed this amount of tonnage. Then you stick to that. You stick to that. You have people monitoring. Don't trust your porters. Don't trust your agents. Have somebody there. You're not on no ticket. Sorry, you can't go. Wait for the next one. Only this among the people. Your names are registered. You compare the tickets to the names. Good. Vehicles, how much you weigh, you can come on. How much is your baggage weight, you can come on. That's how it used to be. You contributed everywhere you go, everywhere you travel. As simple as a taxi, a public transportation. If you are overweight, it can damage your vehicle. Your tires can burst. Your shocks can go. Your engine can fail. You need to mount a height with weight in your car that is above the max the car can carry. It can fuck up your gearbox. A boat has to go against the tide. It has to go against the tide. It must be balanced. The weight of it must be balanced. You pack all the stuff on one side and you pack people. People are disorganized. How is that the government? Human beings need to take responsibility for their own actions. Stop blaming everything on government and president. Stop doing that, man. Your life is your concern. But if you're always in a hurry, you want to rush traffic, you want to go around the system, and when you're caught up like the Mohammeds, face the consequences. You're caught up like the VPAC people, face the consequences. There is no shortcut. Rules are there for a reason. To protect your life, your freedom, your democracy. That's why rules are there. I am wary of the fact that people have yet to understand that thinking is free. Reading is free. Common sense has been given to all of us. It is innate. We are born with that. What happened? Have you become so handicapped and lazy that you really want somebody as toxic as Muhammad and his associates to interpret every event for you? Why do you have elected officials? What do you think that the government has to benefit from? That Edgel, what do you think is going to benefit him by coming online and lying about the boat sinking? How does that benefit him? You think that makes the government look good? To say the boat was not overloaded? Or to say this and say that? You people are really dumb. Really stupid. The president cut short his trip to Canada to come back and lament. Lament with people who would have contributed to the sinking of the boat themselves. Came back from official business concerning the country, the whole country, just to be there present for his presence to be there, to lament, to pray for what, Mr. President? For people to become better citizens, obeying the law, following the rules and regulations. How many times haven't you done that before? You have National Day of Prayers. You invest millions on national. The last time you had one there at the Providence Park, all these so-called gospel, this, and Nandalal was amplifying this thing. Oh, I can feel the spirit. Yet people are lawless. Yet people are disrespectful. Yet they abuse the laws, the system. They cuss out the president. They push propaganda. They break the laws every day. Yet they do that. Prayer ain't working. Miracles don't happen like that. We understand the boat should have been retired. It happened. Going back and forth on that would not change what has happened. Now the boat is retired permanently. There are many other boats that are servicing the waters. Check them out. Don't trust your engineers anymore. Get foreigners. When you want proper inspection, especially as it relates to government sector, you want proper inspection because you can't trust the people that works under this government. Get private investigators, specialists to come from countries that build ships, build planes, build this. The people who actually build these things, bring them. Don't bring the people who studied it. Get the ones who built it from scratch. They come, they have the investigation, they make the recommendation. Work with that. Forget the engineers in the government sector, the public sector. Forget them. You have seen they're the typical public servants. A private sector business that is operating a steamer would not take their business for granted. They wouldn't risk their business like that. They'd rather put the ship on hold and lose customers, or to bring a temporary one from some other country to take the space until they can replace their own vessel. But people abuse the government system in every fucking country. And in Guyana, like I said before, the problems that Ali had inherited, Granger could have fixed it. Because it's his people who are controlling the public sector forever. His people, PNC people, are there the bottom people are there. This is why a lot of them right now, a lot of the persons who are involved, who would have contributed to, if they're saying if they want you to believe what they're saying about boat being overloaded, they contributed to the boat being overloaded because they are not registered. They were the squatters. They were squatting on the boat. Those are the people that are pushing the propaganda, sending out videos to whoever is to push these things online to say the government is lying, the minister's lying. Then fuck what? Minister's lying. Where do you think the minister got his information from? Those fucking fools? He's the minister. He has to depend on his engineers under his ministry. Like I said before, he has no idea about ship or boats. If he says it was not overloaded, it was not fucking overloaded. Because the manifest, the legal document, listed 116 registered persons. Those who would have bought tickets, they also would have been on that. So those who were pushing to say that it was overloaded, it meant that they comprised the portion of illegals that stole a ride, squatted on the passengers list, and they contributed to weakening the structure of the boat. They didn't belong there. And they should be held responsible for contributing. And whoever allowed them to go on the boat without paying must be prosecuted for that, if they're alive. Common sense. This is why I didn't want to react to this Saturday and Sunday. It's stupid when you think about it. Stupid. It's the same way when you drink and drive. Stupid. Adhere to the rules. If that boat was set to sail, it meant the engineers who would have signed off on it knows the capacity and how much the boat could have handled. And they recommended to whatever department deals with the passenger list. They would have had to say, hey, this is what the capacity of the boat, stick to that. Who do you think are corrupt? The cops on the street. Who take bribes when drivers don't have driver's license? The inspectors, the commissioner of police, the Home Affairs Minister, or the president? Who breaks the laws? The traffic cops. And when an accident happens, who gets the blame? The commissioner. So you want the people to think the commissioner knew that the driver who caused the accident didn't have the driver's license. And the commissioner told the traffic cops, if you see this guy on the road, don't interfere with him because he's a friend of the government. You fucking imbeciles. The people who would have allowed the overcrowding, if the boat was overcrowded, of the boat are the ones who worked on the boat the day of the boarding of the boat. They took bribe, not the captain. The captain will never risk his own life for some extra cash to carry 20 or 30 persons extra. No captain does that. Not an airplane pilot, not a boat pilot. They don't do that. Minibus drivers, minibus conductors, they do that. Not something like a boat or a plane. Because they know the consequences to that. I am being repetitive because I want to register a message to them numbskulls who are trying to push fake news because, like I said, they are bloodthirsty for protest. They are bloodthirsty for revolution. They are bloodthirsty. They want this thing so bad because they have nothing going on in their lives. So every little calamity, tragedy, they want to explode it to make it's a racist thing. The government did not take into consideration because only poor people travel with that boat. Only Amerindian people. Only persons that nobody cares about. So this is why they did not give it attention. Because rich people don't go with that boat. Rich people take what? What do they take? What other boat takes that route, that Palmer route? Which other boat? Yachts? Speedboats? Everybody. Rich, poor, stupid, smart, white, black, Indian, Chinese, everybody. If they need to get to that destination, they take that boat. For the past 87 years, every fucking person having to traverse that route, take that boat. Everybody. So if it was a conspiracy to sacrifice people to whatever, what a goddess, that monkey-faced fucking baboon scuntole, disease, child molester, pissant, that fucking rapist, what do you call it, Cliff something? If it's a sacrifice, you fucking niggers, then a minister could have been on that boat. Police officers, citizens from other countries. Cockroach, eat out your fucking brain. You and Azradine, roaches eat out your brain. And since we have tons of people offering their boats, their helicopters, their planes, tons of private citizens, speedboats involved in the search and rescue, tons. They haven't come on their social media and said, look, I'm helping to look for people. The only low life to do that is Azradin Muhammad. He had to post himself in his boat so the public can see that he is helping with the search and rescue. And there are tens and tens and tens of people from all over the world. Every private business in Guyana that has a boat, a helicopter, is offering their services. None of them came on social media and said, look, I'm helping. Nobody did. No fucking body did. But that fucking low life, Muhammad. For what? So the CCJ can see and say, oh my gosh, let us help him with the verdict. Let us be like, because look, he's helping. He's helping. So is 100 other people that nobody knows about. What praises to opposition leader? What fucking praises? It is stupid. It's a low life thing to do things like that. I want praises for it. I want praises for it. Jeez, man, I'm sick of this guy. I'm serious. I'm absolutely sickening of this man. Every shit he does, he wants praises for that. And people are doing much more. Much more. I know of people, I know personally of rich people who give millions every month. And they beg me never to mention their names. Millions they give. Right now, they have donated many boats right now to help to the search and rescue. They beg me not to mention their names. And this fucking asshole. Every life is important. But your life matters when you take responsibility for it. Obey the rules. Stick to the rules. You drink and drive, you lose your life, it's on you. You attack somebody, you lose your life in the process, it's on you. When you contribute to the death of other people, you should be held responsible. I reiterate, based on the official narrative, over 50 persons contributed to the weakening and the overlading of that boat, that it couldn't handle the stress of the seas. Had they not been on the ship would have navigated the best it could, take the load, and come back empty. People contributed to the demise. I wouldn't encourage you to pray, because prayer, which is equal to faith, and faith without works is dead. When you pray, your works must reflect the attitude of your prayer. You can't pray for a blessings, but you're cursing everybody else. You can't pray for the health and strength of other people, but you are contributing to their sickness. We're saying you're praying for the relatives of those who are still at sea. Are you really praying for them? If you are sincerely praying for the relatives, that their loved ones are found, we all want that. What happens after that? Would you tell them, obey the rules? Would you tell them, hey, if you knew that you boarded that boat and you didn't buy a ticket, you need to go and report yourself to the station, face the consequences? Would you tell them that? Would you turn them in? Would you discipline them? If you wouldn't, why the prayer? We have to stop being hypocritical and dumb and so performative. I go back to my initial point. If we want to cast a blame, let us start with Granger. 6 years ago, not 6 years, 10 years ago, that boat would have served 77 years. 12 years ago, Granger entered our office. That boat would have served 75 years, longer than the independence of Guyana. Longer than the independence of Guyana. That boat would have served that route, or whatever route it was before it got there. It would have been on the seas 75 years, since the time of the British, when Granger was sworn in president. You meant his engineers didn't advise him to replace it? Or all they keep doing is just patching and patching and patching, like they did all the other boats around? If we want to point fingers, let us start with Granger, the PNC. They had the opportunity to reform the system. What did they do? they bought some buses and stole the rest of the money. Give Irfan Ali credit. He began the process. He didn't repair, he renewed. That was just another boat waiting to be replaced. Tragedy struck before he got to that. But look at the track record of Irfan Ali. He had replaced many steamers, brand new. And you want to listen to some low-life, evil motherfuckers to capitalize on this and politicize this, to blame Irfan Ali or the PPP for this that the PNC could have solved 12 years ago. I beg the universe that those persons who are involved in the rescue operation, I beg the universe to guide them. And those who are still in the waters, they held on some of the trees in the waters. They're somewhere there waiting to be rescued. I beg the universe to sustain them so that they can be found alive and given a chance to repent if they had contributed to squatting on the boat, not buying a ticket. They have the time to repent and never again to break the law. My thing is that the universe direct the rescuers, first responders, to find as much, if not all, alive, to give them a second chance to do better in the future. That's my take on that. Keep tuning in to your official sources from the government, the ministry, for your official updates. Try your best not to take feeding from the people who have a different agenda to push these narratives. Listen to what comes out of the government. The government don't want to kill you. If they kill you, they have nobody to govern. They want to save your life. They want to preserve your life. Trust your government, trust your system. And don't be distracted from July 29th. Mohammed Azruddin must go. Azruddin Mohammed must go. And that's a fact. On the next show, I'll address the other issues that I was scheduled to talk about today. I'll talk about it on the next program. Share this live because you want my kind of take to go out. Spread my message. Let the people hear my side because I appeal to your common sense. I invoke your intelligence. Like this video, dislike. I'll see you again on the next live.